There is a chance I come off a little mean in this video, but let me just say, I don't hate any individual person. I do hate this video though. Well, the one I'm critiquing, not my own video. I mean, that's crazy. Before we even begin, relax. I'm punching up. I'll be blunt. I think CinemaSins stinks. Now, the concept I love. When I first saw CinemaSins and I thought, this is freaking awesome. This is awesome because you can have fun with a different style review, but you can also showcase why these scenes and moments sucked in a particular movie or TV show. Look at this moment was dumb, this is a plot hole. Not only can you get entertainment from it, but Hollywood themselves, who do a lot of research and test screenings and yada yada yada, and that is for franchises and reboots and remakes and stuff like that. So I know someone's gonna be like, test screenings, how does that help? Fucking internet. Anyway, Hollywood, they can pay somebody to just look and see what all the fans want. The internet is a gold mine. I'm sure Hollywood is starting to get there, but they're clearly not there yet. The people who are spending the money, they're telling you what they want and what they'll spend it on. Recently, a perfect example, and I'll make this quick, a toy maker named McFarlane Toys, he said, I'm gonna stop making this, and the fans said, whoa, we've been collecting that for years, why would you do that? I won't bore you with all the details, but the bottom line is he needed The Walking Dead to prop up other titles that didn't have enough product to fill out a full wave. Long story short, he made some changes, and his own customers, before he went to market, said, we will not pay for that, we will not buy that, please do not make this change. And stubbornly he said, we're doing it. And the customers, they know what they want. You just gotta listen to them. They want to give you money. And you gotta read them right. It's not just like listen to every single comment. You gotta read the vibe and the majority, but also try to be able to transition to make as many of them happy as possible. If you're business minded, it's a fantastic story, and you don't even need to be interested in toys or adult collectibles or anything like that, because it even gets better with time. The majority of his fan base was asking for high articulation, and nowadays it seems like everything McFarlane Toys is doing is high articulation, except for the one friggin' title that started the big fuss years ago, The Walking Dead. Everything he's coming out with has heavy articulation, and it looks like those lines are doing fantastic, and there's a ton of potential as long as they continue making a quality product. I think the people who were trying to throw their money at you might have been right. When I look at CinemaSins, I think you can have fun, and it's also a tool to say, this is how you can get better, Hollywood. But then I started noticing they were sinning jokes that had nothing to do with the movie. And then there's random points, these random sins, that's just like, randomly 20, randomly 30 and 50 here and there. And yes, my series Flaws and Aws has combo points, but it's all done fairly from movie to movie. You get points for all these different things, and it's added up, and that's just so the video isn't an hour plus long, you know what I mean? And we're not repeating the same things as well. And I'm finding out that this isn't even new criticism. There's been a lot of people to step forward and say, hey, you know what? I've been noticing some stuff that just isn't fair, and I haven't dove too deep, but people are saying that CinemaSins has claimed that it is satire. So it's not even a real measure of anything whatsoever. And when you look at it, if you like that type of video and you're fine with that, I don't care. As long as you're entertained, go be entertained. I will say though, the people who say don't make fun of it because it's satire, just have fun, that humors me a bit, because if you really think about it, that's actually making fun of the viewer. If you really sit down and think about that. And number two, it's so borderline not the definition of satire. I mean, little pieces of it partially fall into the realm of satire, but the majority of it isn't. But again, if you love it, go for it. But I stopped watching after a certain point because I just can't get invested in something that doesn't have anything to do with the video I'm watching. I just can't comprehend how people are entertained. If we talk about one movie and then I randomly talk about how this girl isn't my girlfriend or she's not giving me a lap dance, all these other random jokes that have nothing to do with the movie, and then I try to say that this movie is 1 point worse because of that, I don't understand how that's entertaining. Outside of the bad jokes, I think it's the stuff that doesn't relate to the actual friggin' movie and or show. That's like eating pizza and your buddy says, "Hey, how does your waffle taste?" And you say, "It's fantastic." And your buddy's like, interesting. No, it's not. It has nothing to do with the fucking pizza I'm eating. And that brings us to now. Since we did do The Walking Dead 101, I figured I would hit it head on and we would take a look at TVSins for The Walking Dead 101, and then I can show you exactly what I meant. What brought me to say, holy shit, this is a genius idea. And then I watched a few other videos and I thought, this is dumb. This has nothing to do with the movie and or show. Let's just get right into it.
Starting your story at a crossroads cliche.
Right off the bat, that's a no. Yes, there is an intersection here, but they are not symbolically at a crossroads. Rick is on a mission. He's going one way.
But what did this woman die of? Did she run out of gas and decide to sit in place until she starved to death?
Can you not see what appears to be a gunshot in her forehead? Even the guy behind Rick, yeah, he's got a wound on his head as well. Head injury, gunshot, so take your pick.
Seriously, Rick had to get this f***ing close to see the sign that indicated no gas?
This is for the audience. Rick is actually desperate for gas. He's looking around because there's vehicles there, so he is hoping he would stumble across something. Somehow there's some gas to find, not just at the gas station, but all those cars all around. If you were desperate, would you just pass by that one area, probably in between country roads where you haven't seen much of nothing but green? Come on, dude. See what I mean? This was a cheap, lazy shot because it reads like it's a perfect flaw.
Since this is obviously a zombie child, why is she picking up this teddy bear?
Yeah, this is perfect. I mentioned this one as well. Inconsistent walkers in the beginning. However, we know why. I talk about it in my Flaws and Aws, but this guy can't be bothered to even speculate. But yeah, flaw.
But here's Rick, laughing along and casually also misogyning. Are we really supposed to be rooting for him?
Although they are laughing about how inappropriate it is, they even mention that. This crap is just down to personal preference. I sometimes choke on the fact that some people act like all characters everywhere need to be angels and not have the tiniest of flaws.
This dialogue was written by an alien race that read a book written by a different alien race that was titled How Earth Dudes Interact.
You can tell this guy hasn't been around the working class probably a day in his life. You ever been in a factory or somewhere where people are breaking their back for manual labor? It's not polished, it's not philosophical deep meaning. No, workers are gonna say all types of wild shit. Personal preference, I don't care. Go ahead, sin away.
We're now entering minute 4 of these two men complaining about the women in their lives. I'm starting to wonder if we were meant to end up on Team Walker.
Yet in reality, they set up that these two have been longtime best friends. They're now partners. One is a bachelor, highlights his character to come really well, misogynistic, blunt, rough around the edges, bit rude. You got the family man, caring. He even admits he's more like the women that they were complaining about, if you're paying attention. And it leads into Officer Friendly having a wife, Lori, and a son, Carl, and now we're off. For those paying attention and actually listening, you got a good amount of information right there.
Did these two patrol vehicles completely switch lanes on a solid yellow at high speed to avoid roadkill?
Straight away, they can see forever nothing is coming, so there's no danger whatsoever. And seeing as they're cops in a small town, they probably know the guy by name who cleans up the roadkill. Where do you think roadkill goes? An actual person with a job. They don't want to take even the slightest bit of chance of smearing the roadkill all over the road because they know the guy by name who's got to clean that shit up. Plus, it was probably a prop they didn't want to run over.
Damn, didn't Rick and Shane give the pursuing officers a heads up about where the spikes were?
Good, I flawed that too.
Well, those guys are f***ing dead.
Yeah, it's funny I made that joke too, but I didn't sin it because life experience. I was thrown halfway out a window, got stuck, felt my feet clicking off the concrete and then catching air as the car rolled, similar to this one, down an embankment, and I walked out of there with a tiny scratch from my necklace on my chin. Sore back the next day, but I walked out fine.
I think it's safe to say the King County Sheriff's Office trains at the Stormtrooper Academy of aiming at things.
There we go, good one.
This is why actual law enforcement officers secure a scene before engaging in off-the-cuff conversations about bulletproof vests and such.
He's either doing this on purpose or he just didn't pay attention that they confirmed there was only two suspects. But yeah, was it a bit reckless? Should they have cleared the scene? Sure, but they tried at least, and I give them credit for that. The show tried at least to explain there was only supposed to be 2 in the car, and acknowledging someone made a mistake.
Rick was shot in the back, so shouldn't he be applying pressure at the source of the wound?
Yeah, this is acceptable. I flawed the whole thing because the wound actually moves, or at least the bandage. The edge of the bandage ends up being where the wound would be. It's inconsistent.
Cutting Edge show somehow uses an effect from a 1970s soap opera during a coma scene. I guess since they couldn't zombie too much in the first part of the pilot, they had to resort to nauseating the audience in other ways.
See? Yeah, terrible effect, and that joke actually was hitting, because it was relevant, you know, and I got a little chuckle. My throat was dry as hell. I'm leaving that in, because I don't think it's ever made that noise before. Chuckle.
I would give every sin back if the show would pull a De Palma split screen out of Cillian Murphy waking up in the UK.
See, this is borderline one of those that has nothing to do with the actual show, but as we go into this, I'm gonna go easy on him because I'm gonna pretend he means I'm giving you a sin because this isn't totally original since 28 Days Later already did it before you.
Why is this clock stopped at the exact same time to the exact second as the clock in Rick's hospital room? This would make sense if these clocks ran on electricity. But these are battery-operated models.
See, yeah, not only does this not matter, and when it comes to small stuff that breaks the immersion, if it breaks the immersion, I count it as a flaw. It doesn't break the immersion even if you notice it. And to answer your question why the clock is identical on battery-operated models, which is true, you know, good observation there. It's the same clock. For AMC starting out, this was a risk. So it was a huge budget to them for a risk, but for this type of show, the budget should have been double. So yeah, when they film these scenes, it's the same clock, used in different scenes.
Since Rick didn't die of dehydration, which is usually about a 2-week process.
Yeah, this was acknowledged in my video as well. This really comes down to a person's suspension of disbelief. As long as the majority of it is on the money, grounded in realism, it's easy to overlook certain aspects like this, especially when they retconned it to where there was people in the hospital helping those left.
But the level of destruction in this place looks like it's been falling apart for months.
It would really just be one bombing and shooting. It would be like a day for the destruction aspect. Open holes in the hospital, man, the weather and all that. Shit, I don't think it's that much of a stretch. The set has definitely been dressed, you know what I mean? But again, it's part of that visual decor. And it made this part of The Walking Dead visually iconic. They did something right.
Not to mention, if you had time to trap the dead in the cafeteria and spray paint "Don't Open" dead inside, wouldn't you also have time to move the patients out of the hospital to somewhere safe?
This logic I don't understand. Someone who is taking shelter within the hospital suddenly has resources to move people from the hospital to where? Maybe watch the webisode that goes with that.
All of which points to one of the biggest weaknesses in the show's logic, which is that somehow we couldn't contain an outbreak that relies not only on physical contact, but actually biting, and even then takes time to manifest. I mean, come on, we'd have that shit on lockdown within the first week. America!
Yeah, seems like someone's just fighting to not like a zombie story whatsoever at all. But considering almost overnight and instantly 90-something% of the population died and turned into a zombie, yeah, I don't understand the logic in, yeah, we'll just America the shit out of that. And I even think that's a stretch. Even if it's not that, it's a lot.
Also, wouldn't it be nice if they did a spin-off someday about the start of this apocalypse to answer some of these questions? But instead of really fleshing out the origins, it just devolved into the same exact show as this one within the first few episodes? Nah, it would never happen.
So, sin that show, you lazy bitch.
Also, couldn't you easily read this as "Don't Dead Open Inside"?
Yeah, and it became a meme in the fandom, but you can easily see how someone wrote "Don't Open," and then they thought, maybe I should clarify that a bit, and on the next door, "Dead Inside." Yeah, us fans make fun of that too, but is it a flaw in the episode? No. It's not.
This hospital gown is supposed to be the other way, right?
Come on, see this stupid shit? Clearly from the look of the bandage, and we've already given it a flaw for being an inconsistent wound placement area, but it apparently was easier dealing with a guy in a coma to do the bandage stuff without a full frontal gown. I mean, come on, man.
But how the hell does all this happen, including a giant hole in the side of the building? And Rick just sits in his room untouched. This is a world that feels at least a year into its apocalypse.
Again, the destruction could have happened over the course of one day. I don't understand that thought process. However, I will concede, did they make it a little too dirty? Yeah, I could see that argument being made. Is it a huge deal or a flaw? I don't think so.
Like, priority 1, find family. Priority 2, find a goddamn helicopter pilot.
Not only is he ignoring how long that actually takes for them to find someone who can pilot a helicopter, but he completely ignores the distance Rick goes and travels, especially later on. They're nowhere near the helicopter.
The scooching dead?
You know, you can keep these dumb jokes and just add like a neutral sound that doesn't add a sin. I think people would enjoy that more. Clear.
Also, damn, she's already ripped in half, dude. You also have to steal her bike?
Yo, White Knight, she's dead. Give it a rest. And how is this a sin?
Coral!
See what I mean about getting lazy and just throwing in sloppily put together jokes for sins? Because it actually takes longer and it's a little harder to come up with actual critique for sins.
Look how sharp it is. Try anything. I will kill you with it.
Instead of using the perfectly functional revolver that I just pointed at you a few minutes ago.
Perfect example showing off how he doesn't pay attention. After this, Morgan is beating himself up for using the gun because it drew too many walkers.
Stupid. Using a gun.
He has that on his brain, and this is actually clever writing showing that, but he can't be bothered. He just needs to hurry up and get something that looks good when you trim it, but is actually really dumb.
See, it was a walker.
A walker, eh? So is this some alternate universe where George Romero never existed? No zombie comics? No zombie movies? Nothing?
Yep, this is a universe where zombies don't exist. Not in movies, not in comics, not in regular books, not in video games, not at all. Just like in a Batman movie, they don't have Batman comics. It's literally the same thing, except for one is a cluster of monsters and the other is a person specifically, but it's the same principle, and you don't bat an eye when it comes to the superhero movies. And for those who are gonna say, oh man, he's being like super stealthy, satirical, my man. No, he's being dumb. He couldn't take 2 seconds out to Google that shit just to double check. If he would have stopped it earlier, I might have said I don't have an argument. But he kept going and buried himself.
So there is no way, if this ever happened, that every single person wouldn't be calling these things zombies. And the fact that no one in this show actually does is pure lunacy.
Try to eat you, taking some flesh at least.
This conversation couldn't have waited until after dinner.
Some of us are men, not pussies.
Bites kill you. The fever burns you out.
Good thing Rick met Basil Exposition, or he'd be a zombie snack by now.
Now, they've fleshed it out incredibly well with the whole Morgan's wife backstory and all that, but I just gotta add on top of that, the first person Rick ran into would explain the knowledge that they ascertained up until that point. So yeah, no matter what, you're getting exposition.
Once again, Mombi seems to be going against established rules to make a dramatic point. Every single one of these things should just be headed towards that car alarm.
You're dead wrong. The first time they look out the window, you only see a small cluster of zombies close to the car actually go towards the car. The rest of them closer to the house just kind of waddle around back and forth.
If you wanted them to haunt the places they used to live, you should have gone with ghosts instead.
These were modeled after classic zombies, and they did act like that in previous forms of zombie content. They later on, around seasons 3 going into 4, they came up with a standard of the dumb zombie, which is now the golden standard for the zombies. Back then, they were inconsistent compared to now, but they were consistent compared to the zombie genre as a whole.
Can you imagine if it was the kind of show that would do this kind of thing to a living character? Like one we've grown to love and care about over several seasons?
Aw, boo-hoo-hoo, I'm a big sissy, so sin that episode when you get to it. Why would you sin the episode that didn't do the sin that you're so worried about them getting to?
My wife and son, they packed some clothes, not a lot, but enough to travel.
You know, anybody could have broken in here and stolen clothes, right?
Morgan would be excellent at TVSins.
Beautiful example of them overlooking clever dialogue and storytelling to come off with some lazy, stupid-ass joke. A cliche-ass joke they use in every frickin' video they do. What he edited out was the fact that Rick noticed his wife took the photos. A robber could steal clothes, but they're not gonna take the family photos, which also, twofold, folds into what's going on with Morgan and his trauma with his wife. This is actually clever, creative, and good solid writing, but he's a fucking idiot, and he's lazy as shit and wants to piss these out to get the ad revenue.
Said they were working out how to solve this thing.
Man, I'm excited this show will be about finding a cure to this thing, since that would be much more interesting than spending about 75 episodes on a farm or a parade of progressively psychotic antagonists. If a show with this much potential did something like that, I can't imagine how many sins I'd have to give it. Maybe 20?
See what I mean? See what I mean? About the random number he just draws out of his ass. First he lies and exaggerates 75 episodes on a farm. Oh, boo-hoo, you can't deal with one season on the farm. And then he talks about all these bad guys. What do you want? What do you want? Oh, you want some scientists pissing around with a cure that's gonna eliminate the zombies that would kill this show. So every Walking Dead fan who supports CinemaSins, he would have been happy and thrilled if the fucking show ended 9 fucking years ago, because he just wanted a cure because it's better than the bad guys, because he's so sensitive. He can't have that. It's scary. There's a guy with a baseball bat. Ew. He killed a guy I loved. Oh my god. Oh my god. Fucking pussy. And again, sinning the episode that didn't do anything wrong because they don't want to actually get to the episodes that do, because that takes time.
A lot of it's gone missing.
Why hasn't all of it gone missing?
Hey, CinemaSins, how many guns can you carry? Seriously, they lead us to believe that like 95% of the population was just wiped out. So let's say there's 2 or 3 cops left with access, and let's say they threw, I don't know, fucking few guns in the car, and they're like, I have 2 hands and I stole 10 guns. Do I steal another 20 guns? No, because at a certain point, it's just more than you can handle.
You see any, Dwayne?
Nope.
Because that's easier than actually looking for sins.
Exactly how much louder is a gunshot than these full hammer swings?
Yeah, this is just stupid. Gunshot in the open street versus a hammer inside a house. And maybe if the walkers were directly outside the door, it'd be a problem. But since he's hammering, they're probably not.
Oh yeah, remember that desperate search for Rick's family? We're gonna pause that so he can track down and properly retire Half-Lady. Classic Rick.
Hey, one of the most iconic and memorable emotional scenes in the very first pilot episode of a show that would go on to be a massive success and a hit because of scenes like this that are steeped in character development. Yeah, you're right on the money with this one. Or you're actually clueless.
I do like how this show focuses on the personal struggle of the survivors and not just the dead, but I swear to God, if I hear one more person pompously remind me the show's title is actually about the remaining humans and not the zombies, I'm getting Lucille. In fact, here's an extra 30 sins for each time someone's brought it up.
I can't believe this sin is even real. I had to listen to it like 5 times before it really hit me. The absurdity. Because of stuff that fans say, you're gonna just randomly slog on like 20 to 30 points or sins to this episode. And I get it. I understand some fans can be annoying. But to take it out on the show for something the fans said? Man, you're one spiteful prick. I think a sin like this draws a line in the sand and perfectly demonstrates why I can't get any enjoyment whatsoever. When I watch CinemaSins, I'm thinking, here's someone picking out flaws. And that's what, in a way, that's what they want you to think. They instill that, yes, we're picking out sins, and we kind of have fun with it, and yada, yada, yada. But in reality, it's stuff that's so detached from what the material is. I honestly don't know how people enjoy listening to someone say random ass shit. Nothing whatsoever to do with the content. I don't know how that's interesting or fun.
But his actual partner on the force, his wife and his son, that's some next level conveniencing right there, folks.
If you're the type of person that get hung up on this, then okay. But for the rest of us, it's a show. They only have a certain amount of time to get to the point. Yes, this is part of what makes it exciting, knowing he was so close. I go into more detail in my Flaws and Awes video, but
He's gone.
Holy Shane, I know patience isn't your strong suit.
again, they gotta get to the point, man.
They don't have time to put signs up warning people to stay out of the city, but they've got time for this?
Yeah, it literally takes 1.2 seconds to kiss while you're already staring face to face. But then to put signs together, you gotta get supplies. Do they have what they need? Then they gotta go there successfully without getting gobbled up. I mean, come on, man. Did you even think about this even a little before the words left your mouth?
Rick Grimes holds a gas can and slowly walks down the street.
CinemaSins hates smooth storytelling.
Guy somehow finds a horse to ride cliche?
Dumb joke has nothing to do with a CinemaSin.
More like a proposal.
Jesus, Rick. I know it's been a few days without a woman around, but
Another lazy joke, which is a shame because it wouldn't have been that bad if it wasn't for the fact that you're sinning the episode for your stupid joke.
come on, not a single car is on the highway into town, and I'm definitely that asshole.
I'm just gonna add a clip from my Flaws and Awes. Normally there would be at least a few cars on the other side, but this scene wants to speak to the viewer. It's purposeful, visually over-exaggerated. Everyone trying to leave, and literally no one trying to enter, except for Rick's crazy ass.
I'm definitely that asshole. Hey, there's another helicopter that looks perfectly functional. If you've got gas for cars, why not fire that fucker up? God damn, the pilotless helicopters in this pilot really pissed me off.
Who's gonna fly it?
To be fair, these zombies totally had the right of way.
Another joke. I'm not surprised.
I'm definitely that asshole.
CinemaSins has more filler than The Walking Dead.
Rick somehow not previously seeing the open hatch right in front of his face, that I'm gonna sue Frank Darabont for whiplash.
I've never seen someone hate cinematic reveals as much as this channel.
How is it even remotely possible to relax around any corpse at this point?
I'm re-editing my response. At first I was like, this guy just hates the cinematic reveal, and Rick is kind of new to this, but to think about it, if you had a problem with that, yeah, whatever, alright. At least this is close to a real sin.
Oh, please. Not to eat a dead horse here, but the zombies take naps now? Seriously?
Yeah, early on in this universe they were supposed to, as evidenced by the zombie taking a nap in front of the house earlier on that was previously established. For clever people, it's to distinguish the difference between these zombies and other zombies you might have seen on different movies. Because zombies don't always have to act the same movie to movie, show to show. Unless it's the same show, then yeah, you need to be consistent.
The loud creaky metal didn't wake him when Rick closed the hatch?
Yeah, most people understand it's for the dramatic tension. However, if you're someone who sees that as a flaw, I'm not going to argue with it. I don't count it. It doesn't bother me when I watch the show, but I get it. It ends right now. Alright, so in closing, I just want to make it abundantly clear, I don't hate anyone for their opinions, even though I highly disagree. But I do feel like when I first ran into the CinemaSins content, it was more about honestly picking out some flaws with some jokes, but then it felt like there was less authentic sins and more jokes and more random combo points. It honestly felt like they wanted to produce so much, and in order to compensate for that, they had to just pick out a few easy ones, slap in some lazy jokes, a few extra combos, and then boom, there you go. And again, if people watch this for entertainment and they're loving it and it's right up your alley, then go for it. Maybe you guys can help. I don't understand what is even the purpose of adding the points, putting the points at the end of the video. I just don't understand what the purpose is because it's zero value. It adds nothing. Even in a silly, playful, fun way, it's empty. If CinemaSins ever struggles with views down the road with more and more competition propping up and they want to know why some people are jumping ship, hey, here's my own personal opinion. I could be in the minority here, but that's why I went from someone who would have watched every single video, or at least CinemaSin you posted, TVSin you posted, because that was aimed like directly at something I'm interested in. And then I became someone who hasn't even watched anything in a year, and now I'm someone who will never watch your stuff simply because you bloated it with so much empty filler. There's no point in watching your stuff.